Hi, this is Wayne Brown from the Better Dating Academy, moving people from dating disaster to relationship master. Okay, today we're looking at another top 10 tips. So, this is tips to help you uh, move from where you are now to being in a high quality relationship. And each set of top 10 tips deals with a different aspect of that journey from where you are now to a high quality relationship. And today, what we're looking at is tips for things to have in a partner. So these are things there that most people would agree a partner should have. So I'm going to go through them. I'm going to explain to you why they should have them. I'm also going to encourage you to come up with your own list of things that you'd like to have in a partner. So, the first one we're going to be looking at is respect for themselves and for others. Now, if they've got respect for themselves and for others, that means they're going to have respect for you. So, this is watching the way they allow people to have an opinion, the way they interact with people, the way they may avoid judging them or condemning them. It's just the way that they have respect for people's opinions, beliefs, values, and allow them to be themselves. It's also respect for themselves, meaning they'll be assertive, they won't take too much crap, they won't tolerate certain things, both in themselves and in other people. So it's that having respect. Respect is a really good cornerstone for things to have in a partner. The next one we're going to look at is they use their manners. Now, there's a inclination for people in today's world to not use their manners. Manners are an indicator of how much people respect people, how much they value them. They don't take a lot of effort, but they have a massive impact. So a good indicator when you're on a date with someone is watching how they treat service staff. If they're nice to the service staff, more than likely they're going to be nice for you. So little indicators like this give away a huge amount of information about that person, their character, what they're like as a partner. So if they're using things like please, thank you, excuse me, may I, these are all very important. And also their actions, holding doors open for people, offering seats to little old ladies, reveal the quality of their morals. So these are all very important, and manners give away a huge amount of someone's character. So watch how they interact with people, and especially with using their manners. The next one is, are they a good communicator? Now, this doesn't mean that you have to be able to present to 10,000 people. It doesn't mean they have to be an inspirational or motivational speaker. This is someone who can translate their thoughts into words effectively. So, do they say what they mean, or are they constantly going back and going, no, that's not what I meant. What I meant was, and they're struggling to find what it is they're trying to say. Are they good at being able to give you information and in a form that you can take? Because there's a lot of different methods of communication. And if you get someone who has a completely different method of communicating to you, you're going to struggle with them because they'll say something, you'll misinterpret it, you'll take it the wrong way, you'll misconstrue it, and you're going to be constantly having this struggle. So you want to make sure they're a good communicator. They can adapt their communication according to the person they're talking with. Watch how they communicate with children. That's a really good indicator. It shows patience and tolerance and good qualities like that. So pay attention to how they communicate. Do they also listen well? Also a really important one. So in a partner, you definitely want someone who's a good communicator because that means you're more able to grow because they'll always be looking for ways to communicate better. Okay, the next one, they put effort into dressing up. So the amount of blokes I see out that are dating or trying to date and approach women who dress shabbily, and then they wonder why they can't find a partner. Now, I know when I was reinventing myself, shall I say, into a more authentic and cohesive version of me. One of the things I did is I had a friend, she's very knowledgeable in fashion, she did it professionally, and I took her out for the day and paid her for her time, obviously, because I want to make it worth her while. And we went around, she explained colours that would work for me, that match my skin tone, things like that, things that I hadn't contemplated before. So we went out, we spent the day, she explained these things, we bought outfits, she fitted me, and the difference it made in myself, like giving me just that little bit more confidence and knowing that I was presenting a good version of myself, made it easier to approach women. Because women also notice these things. But it's generally guys that go for the more casual look, not generally women. Women usually make the effort. But for everyone, put the effort in to dress up. This doesn't mean you always have to be like this couple in the picture, immaculately dressed and super formal or anything like that. But even dressed casually, you can look sharp. Your clothes can look neat. They can look cared for. Only do the shabby if it's with people that you're really comfortable with, and that's the theme, as in it's we're just chilling and letting it all hang out type day. So put the effort into dressing up. Make sure you're wearing nice clothes. Make sure it complements your shape. Make sure it complements your skin tone. Make sure it's age appropriate. Make sure it's the image that you're trying to put across. And that's the really important one, is it the image that you're trying to put across what you're wearing? It's a really big billboard that you wear on you when you walk around. People look at you, and unfortunately we all judge off first appearances, first images, first impressions. So think about is what you are wearing the image you want to put across. So very important, that one. So your partner, you want them to be someone who puts the effort into dressing up, because if they don't put the effort in when you're first meeting them, they're definitely not going to put the effort in once you know them and you're in a relationship. So people's best efforts are when you first meet them. So if they're dressed well, you know they're going to look after themselves. And if they can look after themselves, they'll more than likely look after you as well. So very important in a partner, you want someone who puts the effort into dressing up, and also make sure you do too. And make sure you dress, like I said, theme appropriate. So if you're going to something formal, dress formally. If you're going to something informal, dress informally. But make sure it's neat. Okay, the next one. You need to have common interests, and I mentioned this in the 10 tips for a better you with the matches. You need to have interests that are in common, hobbies and values, beliefs, attitudes, all this sort of thing need to have common ground. So you need to have, say, for example, a sport that you like to go and do. It doesn't mean you do all your sports with that person or all your hobbies, but you need to have some that are in common so that when you get together, you've got conversation that you can join. You can encourage each other, support each other, and have a commonality between you where you feel like you should be together. All right, so very important to have common interests and hobbies and values. So make a note of things that you want your partner to have as interests, hobbies, values, beliefs, attitudes, all this sort of thing. And the next one you need to have, and I spoke about this again in the better version of you, is the contrasting beliefs, values, and attitudes. So you need to find out what are the contrasting ones that they would have for you. So having all the same beliefs, values, attitudes, etc., as someone isn't always a good thing. Some people like to have lots in common, and that's okay. Remember, we're all different. Some people like more in common, some don't. Some like more of a mismatch, because it is in the contrast, in the conflict, shall we say, that our greatest growth happens. That situation presents you with an opportunity to learn more about yourself, to learn more about your future partner. So you need to know what it is they would have. So when I was creating my partner template before I went out and met my wife, I had to think about what are the things that she would have that would be contrasting to me. Not where it would create problems, but where it would enable us to grow and explore and become better versions of ourselves. I also had to think about the complementing skills, abilities, and behaviours. So these are things that she could do better than me, things that I could do better than her. So, for example, I'm a very creative person, good at thinking up ideas, solutions, figuring out ways to do things, coming up with ideas. I'm very good like that. Trouble is, though, people who are creative tend to suffer from the old shiny thing syndrome. We get distracted easily. So things like planning are difficult for us. So one of the major traits I needed my future partner to have that was complementing to me was she had to be a good planner. She had to be able to focus. So my wife is very focused. She's exceptionally good at planning. She contemplates things that don't even enter my head. So that offsets me. So she's not always good at coming up with solutions. So together, we form a really good team in that regard. So together we can really plan something because I go, well, what about this? We haven't considered it this way. Or what about, and I can hold that big picture in my head and she's dealing with the details and the minutiae. So also there's skills she's got, behaviours she's got that complement mine. So together we're a really good team. So think about what your partner would need to have where you don't have that particular strength, but they would have it. And vice versa. Things that you're really good at that it wouldn't matter if they weren't good at. Like say, for example, if you really like cooking, it didn't matter if your partner didn't like cooking because you do. So it's that complementing as well. So have a think about your contrasting and your complementing. Both very important, very important. All right, the next tip is they have to be willing to grow. Now, all of these opportunities in life, these situations that present themselves, they can be challenging, but all of those challenges are giving us an opportunity to grow and become a better version of ourselves. Now, if they don't want to grow, they don't want to change, they don't want to become a better version of themselves, you don't want to be with them. Let them find someone who doesn't want to become a better version of themselves. Let them be miserable together. Go and find someone who's willing to grow. Now, obviously, you have to be willing to grow as well. So when situations present themselves, rather than trying to get out of them, you go, okay, this is an opportunity for us to individually grow and together as a couple become a higher quality. Now, I know when I first met my wife, I knew she was willing to grow. I tested her on that. And at first, she resisted a little because we had some good opportunities to grow, but she's embraced that. And now we're both becoming better versions of ourselves. And as a couple, we're becoming a greater version. But I needed to know that she had that willingness to grow. So in a partner, that's what you want. Someone who's willing to grow and become better than they were yesterday. So you actually want it to be measurable. So you need some sort of KPI, so to speak, that you can measure against so you know they're becoming a better version of them as you become a better version of you. Okay, the next one. They have to be willing to get uncomfortable. Now, as we're growing, we're moving outside of our comfort zone, outside of our certainty, outside of our familiar. So it can sometimes become a little uncomfortable, but they have to be willing to get uncomfortable in order to grow. So that means when a situation presents itself that is challenging you for a better behaviour, a better attitude, a better mindset, are they willing to embrace that and go, okay, let's explore this. I'm scared, I'm uncomfortable, I'm worried, but I'm willing to do it because I'm going to become a better version of me. So are they willing to get uncomfortable? And that could be in anything. They could be willing to try something new. You know, my lady, when I met her, I threw one at her about roller coasters. Wasn't sure whether she was into them. Turns out she's really into them. So I was quite excited when I found that one out because I love roller coasters. So that meant that she was willing to get a little bit scared, a little bit uncomfortable. So that gave her a big tick. So you want to, when you meet people, see how comfortable they are with being uncomfortable, because it shows a willingness to grow, and that willingness to be uncomfortable is a good indicator of that. Okay, the next one. They know how to get angry. Now, the thing about anger, and I spoke about this in the top 10 tips for a better you, is a lot of people don't know how to get angry. Yes, they can do angry, they can do aggressive anger or passive anger, but they don't understand how to do anger properly. And because of that, it causes more problems than it solves. Now, I know for myself, I used to do anger pretty poorly. I was very heavily into the aggressive anger, wasn't healthy, it was quite toxic, not pleasant. The fun thing was, though, once I understood how to do anger properly, I actually embraced anger. Anger's a wonderful emotion that gives us a fantastic opportunity to explore ourselves, our partner, the situation, the relationship, and become better versions of ourselves. It's probably one of the emotions that's most responsible for our growth. But because so many people struggle with doing it in an effective way, they miss the learning opportunity. I know I certainly did in the past, but now I embrace it when I get angry. It's actually a pretty cool thing. So you want a partner that knows how to get angry in a healthy way. So I mentioned this in the previous one. If you go to my website, betterdatingacademy.com, go to the resources page, there's a download there for the 3 types of anger. So it shows you behaviours for aggressive anger and passive anger, so ways not to do it, but it also shows you ways to do it with assertive anger, which is a completely different type of anger. Now, the last tip for today is understanding their emotions. Now, understanding anger is a good thing, but you also want them to be able to understand their other emotions. Now, emotions are required for living. The whole reason we do a lot of the things we do is because we want a particular emotion. Now, if you understand your emotions and you can differentiate between them all, you're going to be more likely to be able to grow, to seize an opportunity to become a better version of you. So if you're talking to someone and their differentiation between their different emotions is as simple as I'm happy, I'm sad, well, that's a bit of a concern because they can't tap into how they really feel. Therefore, they can't communicate that to you. Therefore, they can't take that opportunity to grow and become a better version of themselves. Now, there are literally hundreds of emotions, and being able to differentiate is something, especially for myself, when I was many years ago struggling and I could only do happy and angry. That was about it. Unfortunately, angry was the more common emotion. And it was only when I sat down and drew up a list of different emotions and at the end of every day sat there and really thought about the day and went through my list and went, right, was there a moment today where I felt proud? And I had to think about what proud felt like, how it sat in my body. And then once I thought about it and I went, yes, I had that moment there where I was proud, I could tick it off. Then I would go on to the next one. Did I have a moment today where I was frustrated? And then I would think about the emotion of frustrated and how that felt, and then I'd tick that one off. And I think it was something like 22 emotions that I worked through. Not a huge amount, but enough that I could start to differentiate so that now, if I'm feeling anger, for example, I would know whether it's just disappointment, whether it's frustration, whether it's anxiety. So I can differentiate my different angers now. I can differentiate my different happiness. So I know the difference between excitement and elation and joy. So all of these things, understanding how I feel makes it so much easier to tap into myself so that I can communicate to my wife how I'm feeling and I can explore me and become a better version. So understanding your emotions, very important. So when you're talking to people, really listen to how they say they feel. See if they can differentiate. Okay, so they're the 10 things you need in a partner, and just to quickly go over them again so you remember. The top 10 tips for things to have in a partner. They need to have respect for themselves and others. They need to use their manners, because these things indicate how they are going to treat you. They need to be a good communicator. Are they able to put how they feel into words? It helps if you've got a large vocabulary. You don't have to, but it does help. Do they put effort into dressing up? If you're meeting up for a first date, second date, do they put the time and the effort into looking good? Do you have common interests, your common values? What are they? Does your partner have what you require a partner to have? Do they have contrasting abilities and skills, etc.? Are they willing to grow as a person? Because you want someone who's going to become a better version of themselves. Are they willing to get uncomfortable when situations present themselves? Are they willing to go there and explore that and become a better version? Do they know how to get angry? Do they do effective anger? Do they do assertive anger? Do they do healthy anger? Because if they do, there's a very good chance they're going to be able to grow comfortably and at a good pace. And do they also understand their emotions? Can they differentiate between all the different emotions? So that's really important. Okay, so there's the top 10 things to have in a partner, and this applies to most people. Most people are going to want to have these 10. There may be things where, say, for example, dressing up isn't that important to you, and that's okay. You don't have to have all 10 of these, but they are 10 that are worth considering, worth thinking about, some far more than others. So have a think about these 10 and maybe others that you would want to have in a partner, but these would be certainly ones worth considering. Okay, I hope you found these top 10 tips helpful. We'll join you on the next video for another set of top 10 tips on the journey from where you are now to a high quality relationship. Have a good one, and we'll catch you then. Bye.